name is Claudia Mojica, and I am a full-time faculty member here at Coastline on the side of student services. So I am a counselor, but I also teach. I don't teach as much as Sasha does. I teach like 1 or 2 classes per semester, and those are usually in counseling. And I was really happy that this event was happening because students always have a lot of questions about these different areas under human services. And it's really interesting just to take a look at all the different pathways, all the different ways that you can get to a career within human services because it is such a big area. So I'm going to talk a little bit about those opportunities here at Coastline. And just to share a little bit, I am a counselor here at Coastline, and I work with special programs on our campus. So my populations are students that are part of our CalWork, so students that that are parents and going to school. I have students that are former foster youth, students that are first generation college students, and students who are reentering. They were in the workforce and they decided to come back in. And it's interesting because I think that a lot of what I do encompasses all of these different areas within sociology, within gerontology, within human services. But my pathway did not begin with those majors. I was actually a psychology major with a bio minor who went into public health and then came here. And I think that a lot of the courses that we offer under these areas here at Coastline, they are definitely very useful. Like I use a lot of these skill sets that you learn in the courses every day in the work that I do, because a lot of what I do is connecting folks to resources that are going to, to help them feel well so they can be here at school. So that's a little bit about me, and I will drop in my contact information so that if you want to, I welcome you to reach out.
You want to go?
That sounded interesting. Okay, let me go ahead and bring in the presentation here. Give me just a moment so I can share my screen. And, oh, interesting. Here we go.
And as Claudia is sharing her screen, I just want to let everyone know on the event page, I also included the LinkedIn for all the speakers. So feel free to also add them there as well.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me about that, Paulo. That's actually really good. And I'm very active on LinkedIn. So I do make a lot of connections and I keep in contact with my students that way. So all of you who are here today, I'm sure that you have been doing your job, developing your relationships with your instructors, but especially for those that are looking into, going into other programs later on, like master's programs, make sure that your instructors know who you are in the class. So take advantage of their office hours. That's just a little plug for you, Sasha. So our focus today is these areas of sociology, human services, and gerontology. And Sasha asked me just to make sure that folks had information about the different degrees available in these areas. So we'll begin with sociology. And when someone majors in sociology, not everyone who goes into sociology ends up becoming a sociologist, right? Like, Sasha, for example, she was a social worker for a long time. So her major in college was sociology. And then she went through and pursued social work through her master's program. And she was a working sociologist for a long time, but I know you're going to share your story later, Sasha, so I'm not going to spend too much time, but you're just a very good example of what someone who majored in sociology, you've been a social worker and now a professor. So going into sociology will prepare you for a variety of different careers in this area of, helping people. You can go into education, K through 12 or higher than that if you want. You can go into therapy. You can go into counseling. You can go into law. So really, you don't have to be pre-law to become an attorney. And having a background in this area of sociology is actually really good, especially for areas such if you want to be like a criminal defense attorney or you want to go into family law. Any of those areas, having work under your belt like this will be really helpful to you. And then also going and doing research. You can do research for the government, for private agencies, even within your institutions. And here at Coastline, you can either do an Associate of Arts degree in sociology, which is not intended for transfer, but may be used for it. Or we also have the Associate of Arts for Transfer, which is a specific type of sociology degree that actually brings in the necessary components to be able to transfer. And it aligns with what the Cal State campuses are asking for sociology. But in some cases, it also works to align pretty well with some private campuses and some of the UC campuses as well. And then, Paulo, if there's any questions in the chat and you want to let me know, I'm happy to answer those as I go through it. And then we also have human services. So in human services, we have both a certificate of achievement as well as an Associate of Arts degree available in it. And there's a lot of different areas that you can go into this. Like, this can be a really good starting point if you want to go and do any kind of, community outreach. So working with any kind of agency that works directly with social services, that works with campuses, that works to serve the needs of the community. It's also a good area to be in if you are going into medical and health services. Really, there's a lot of folks don't think about all of the other people that are not doctors and nurses that work in hospitals, that work in clinics. So there's a lot of people there that work to help people transition. Like, there's actually medical social workers, and human services can help you get into social work if that's something that you're trying to do later on. But there's folks that help with rehabilitation therapy, different types of rehabilitation for folks. There's folks that help coordinate services once a patient is done being at the hospital. Where do they go and how do they set up additional services for the families? And there's even like within hospitals, there's even like hospice. Usually most hospice teams have someone that works in the area of helping people. So that's usually like a social worker or a therapist. And this area of human services can also lead to a career as a working therapist, as a working social worker. So you're going to find that there's a lot of overlaps between the different majors, right? That following these tracks can help you get into many of the same fields. So as you can see, you can become someone that works as a school counselor, mental health. Like I said, that overlap continues there. And then gerontology, we have both an associate's degree and a certificate of achievement. And, before, some years ago, I kept thinking I kept hearing that gerontology was going to be this area with great demand. Well, we are there. We are now in a time where this area is of great demand. We have an aging population that requires a variety of different services. And these are just some of the areas, right? So I do have a few students that work at like local homes that do clinical techs. And this means like working in tandem with the nurses or the medical assistants to help give patients the care they need. So if they have like special menus, they make sure that they're getting the kind of food that they are supposed to be getting, that they get the medication, that they are being connected to the right type of support services, whether themselves or their families. And this is also very similar to the role of a geriatric social worker. So you can actually specialize in geriatrics as part of the work that you do as a social worker. You can come in and teach. We have professors that this is their area of specialization. And many of them had other, career paths that they had before they came into teaching. You can be an occupational therapist, health educators, and community health workers. So we have these really interesting programs here at Coastline in the area of nutrition. So if this is something that you want to talk about, I do have some students that have come in and they've done gerontology and they've paired that with the nutrition aspect, because this is actually an area that's seeing some growth here in Orange County and other parts of California. And then even going into and becoming a home health care aide. So as you can see, there are a lot of different opportunities with these degrees that'll help you get in. And once you can achieve your first position, you can use your degree to do that. A lot of these positions are not terminal. You can actually continue to increase your own education and then thereby move into positions, of more responsibility where you can earn licensing requirements. So it's a really good area to go into if part of what you need to do is work and go to school. There's a lot of programs out there where you can do, like if you are working full-time in this area, you can go to school part-time. And there's a lot of programs both at the bachelor's level and the master's level that will help you do that. Then I'll stop sharing. And so I went over it pretty quickly, but this is just to give you kind of a broad overview of what's available at Coastline. One of the interesting things about the degrees is that I don't know if everyone is aware, but for any of you who are sociology majors and are thinking, wow, human services seems like a really interesting area, so sociology here at Coastline actually has a direct pathway into human services at Cal State Fullerton. So at Cal State Fullerton, human services is one of the largest majors that they have, and they have a lot of areas of concentration. So if you are a sociology major, you can apply to be a human services major at Cal State Fullerton. That degree also has a direct pathway to it. And right now I'm going to just dial it back a little bit. I'm going to let other folks come in, but I'm going to be here for the whole presentation. So if you have questions, I welcome them. And I'm also going to include my email here in the chat if anyone wants to reach out directly.
So I do have a list of questions, and all of the panelists are going to answer the same questions. So I'm just going to read them to you so that you sort of have an idea of what is going to be spoken about today. So the panelists are going to give us their academic background, their current position. They're going to describe their major responsibilities, discuss what made them choose their field, the populations that they serve, what they find most rewarding about their job, if there's any special training that is required for their position, knowing what they know now, what would they have done differently to better prepare for their current role, and how have internships, volunteering, or other relevant experience helped in your journey? What are some other positions in your field that someone with a degree in sociology, human services, or gerontology could pursue? And if they have, any advice that they can give to current students. So I think we could start with you, Amy. If you could, introduce yourself and tell us about your career.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Amy Evangelista. I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Sasha, for inviting me. Let's see, academic background. So I actually have a sociology degree, bachelor's degree. I attended a community college. I was in my 20s and I thought, hey, I'm not really liking my position in office work and I want to do something that I feel is a little bit more meaningful. So I decided to go to college and I started at El Camino taking one class because I didn't think I could handle more than that. And slowly but surely I built my confidence and started taking more classes. And I didn't really know what my major was going to be. So I kind of just picked sociology because my cousin was doing sociology, to be quite honest. And once I started taking the classes, though, I absolutely loved it. I loved learning about people and just I'm a helper. So I was really happy that I chose that major. It worked out. I continued on after getting my bachelor's degree in sociology to get my counseling degree from University of Laverne. Had a higher education concentration because I knew I had wanted to work with students in college. And the reason why I knew that was because I actually had a college counselor that spent time with me. I developed a relationship with the counselor and he kind of just said to me, why don't you be a college counselor? And I was like, okay, I guess, maybe. I think so. So he kind of planted that seed. I still didn't believe it 100% when he told me, but he planted the seed. And then as my confidence grew while I was taking classes, it was something that I kind of naturally did after graduating with my bachelor's degree, is that I just kind of thought, I'm going to continue on. So I'm a counselor here at Coastline College. I work in the general counseling office. Part of my responsibilities are working with students to kind of help them navigate the system. I do academic, personal, and career counseling. I teach counseling classes, like some of you might have taken the career and life planning class or strategies for college success. Currently, I'm teaching applied stress management. I also develop curriculum, so that means creating the classes to teach. And then I serve on committees at Coastline College, specifically curriculum. So that's kind of helping other faculty have their courses approved through a specific process. In addition, I work on other projects when I have the time. So I mean, I really love my job. One of the questions, if I'm following this correctly, is what made you choose your field? And I kind of already touched on that because I had mentioned that a counselor had talked to me, a community college counselor had talked to me and said, why don't you do that? And I was like, yeah. But I love working with people, and I really love the idea of education. I think education has the power to change lives. It changed my life. I mean, I never would have thought that I would be a faculty member. I grew up in the projects of New York, you know, I never thought I would even go to college. So the fact that I'm sitting here now talking to all of you is just, you know, it gives me the goosebumps. So populations that I serve, diverse students like yourselves. I serve returning students, students out of high school, students that are coming back after attending college and maybe they want to continue their education, systems impacted students, international students, so pretty much all students. And I think I kind of already touched on this, but what is the most rewarding part of my job? Working with students, but also hearing from students how education has changed their lives. I love when a student contacts me and says they've been accepted to, you know, the school that they applied to, or they contact me and say that they got the job that they wanted because, you know, they took a program such as Gerontology, or they graduated with, you know, a sociology major. So it's really one of the most, you know, rewarding parts of my job. The special training that's required for my position in counseling here at Coastline or any community college where you would want to be a counselor. Counselors are faculty members, and therefore we would need a master's degree in counseling. You have to be a little bit tech savvy, willing to learn. It's kind of be a lifelong learner because every day you're going to be learning something new. And I believe it's not special training, but you really have to have patience and want to help others. I think that's an important part of the position. Knowing what I know now, what would I have done differently? Oh, I probably would have researched it a little bit more. I didn't understand at first the competitiveness of applying to community colleges. I just thought like you apply and you get the job like any other, you know, position, but really it's a lot more complicated than that. There's, you know, panel interviews, and you sometimes have to work as a part-time counselor first to kind of pay your dues, get your experience, and then you know, eventually would get a position. I really didn't know that, so I wish I would have probably asked more questions of the counselor that I was working with, or maybe done a little bit more research. Everything I kind of learned was more like learning as I went. So I think I would have probably tried to be a little bit more prepared. How have internships, volunteering, and other experience helped me in my journey? They've helped tremendously. As part of my master's degree program, I had to do an internship. So I did a career counseling internship. So I was able to see the career counseling aspect of counseling at a higher education institution. I also did an EOPS apprenticeship, which gave me the opportunity to have that practical hands-on experience. I think it kind of circles back to what was said earlier in this workshop, that, you know, getting that hands-on experience, you know, through internships and volunteering is just so key, because it really kind of allows you to even see like, yeah, I really like this, or no, I don't think I want to do this. So, and for me, luckily, when I did the internships, I realized that it just kind of solidified my decision to go into this field. I also worked in other positions. I got my master's in counseling, and I graduated during the downturn of the economy. So there were no jobs out there. And so I had to kind of be strategic. And you know, I worked at UCI as a counselor. I worked at Whittier College as an associate registrar, but those experiences actually gave me more breadth of experience and transferable skills that I was able to set me apart from other candidates when I was applying to community colleges for a counseling position. And then lastly, I think I'm getting to the end. What are some other positions in your field that someone with a degree can pursue? So I'll use myself as an example again. With sociology, specifically, I mean, the options are limitless. You're working with people, you're using your helping skills. I worked as a mental health coordinator prior to even getting into higher education. So that was part of a nonprofit organization, and that involved going out into the community and helping parents get insurance for their children. And I never thought that was something I was even interested in, but I really enjoyed it. And again, my sociology degree was what allowed me to get that position. So again, I think just positions in nonprofit work and also in higher education outside of counseling. So I did mention that I worked as an associate registrar, and I worked also as an advisor / counselor in another area. So, I mean, really, the options are really very open. You just kind of have to start networking and also thinking outside the box if you're not able to find a position that you think, you want right away. Sometimes you have to kind of think about transferable skills and maybe look at other positions and how you can work your way. I mean, I worked in IT before I actually came to Coastline. I was working at the district doing IT work, doing the programming behind DegreeWorks, which is, as all of you students know, is the audit system that we use. So I was even doing that before I came here to Coastline as a counselor. And so what is the best advice I can give? Just network, intern, and don't be afraid to ask for help along the way. Particularly, your counselors, your faculty members, like Claudia, she's always there for you. Sasha, having this workshop and she's worked in the field, so she can answer questions. Paulo is in the careers. So, we're all here to support you. That's why we're here, because we want to help you succeed. So reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out. We want you to reach out. So that would be my advice.
Great, thank you so
I'm done.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so next we'll move on to Cynthia.
Hi, I'm Cynthia, and I have a bachelor's degree in human services, and I currently work at a nonprofit agency, Harbor Regional Center in California. There's 21 regional centers, and we assist people with developmental disabilities from birth to end of life. And my current position there is service coordinator. So part of what I have to do is I work with children and young adults. I have to make assessments on what the client needs. And so developmental disabilities, let me just backtrack a little bit. The clients that we serve have autism, intellectual disability. So they have Down syndrome. Some of them have cerebral palsy or epilepsy. Those are, and traumatic brain injury. Those type of clients are the people that I serve. And so part of my job is to advocate for them, for services within school districts, with insurance, with other agencies. So you really have to be able to do case management, make assessments, provide information, be able to help clients identify what their needs are. Let's see here. I'm just going through the questions, sorry. Describe the major responsibilities. I just did that. What made you choose the field? It kind of chose me, actually. I just really have always liked working with people at a young age. I volunteered at nonprofits. So I've worked at a population with HIV AIDS. I work with foster youth. And I've always just liked helping people and working with people. So it was just kind of something that came naturally to me to pick this type of career. Okay. I'm sorry, I already said what population I serve. The most rewarding part of my job is being able to help a client obtain a service, and helping them advocate for themselves for things. In my current position, clients have to deal with special education, with agencies such as Social Security Administration. And so a lot of times there's a lot of barriers and loopholes that they have to go through. So being able to help somebody with special needs obtain, a service that they really need, that that's one of the most rewarding things for me. And helping people, when people really appreciate what you've done for them. What is the next question? Special training. So human services is a pretty broad field. I wouldn't say, like in my position, there's no special training, but it does help to have, like, you could have a major in human services, you could have a major in social work, psychology, or any of those related fields. I would say, though, it does help to be able to have some kind of a specialty certificate, or if you have a master's at a higher level, that would help too. So knowing what I know now, how could I have prepared? So knowing what I know now, I think I would have done college earlier in life. I received my degree in my 30s. And also, I think that I would have asked more questions about maybe doing an area of concentration, is something that I would have preferred. Like the gerontology, I remember when I was in school, that was the big thing. We were told that's going to be like the major thing in the future. And I think it was mentioned earlier, that's here now. So maybe specializing in something, like getting the degree in human services, but also with a specialty in a field. So internships, volunteering, and other relevant, how has that helped? So volunteering and doing internships, as mentioned before, is key. Very, very important. I really recommend that you go and volunteer at different organizations. I did a bunch of them. I volunteered at a hospice. I volunteered at a soup kitchen. I volunteered at a HIV/AIDS organization. So asking questions, volunteering, that's the best way to figure out what you like, what you don't like, or what population you want to work with. A lot of times you think maybe you want to work with a certain population, and then when you are volunteering or working there, you might really change your mind because it's not what you thought it was in your head. So it's really important to reach out and do that. I really recommend it. Other positions in your field, I think it's going to be like all these three. The possibilities are probably endless. You could work in the mental health field, you can work in social work, you could work for the Department of Children and Family Services, nonprofits. You could do like community outreach services. You could be a family court advocate. You could work in foster care. I think it's just open because human services, you're working with people. So it's really open. What is the best advice? So in my experience, in this field, you're working with people, you're working with people's problems, emotions. The best advice I can give is you cannot save the world. You can't save people, and you shouldn't take the work home with you. Like, you go to work, and I don't know, perhaps that sounds a little harsh, and it took me a long time to learn this and be able to do this. But I think in this type of field, it's like, you know, your shift ends, your work day ends, and you go home and you're thinking about clients, or you're thinking about a problem that somebody has, and it just carries over into your personal life. You have to learn to not do that, cut it off, and accept that you cannot save everyone. That's one of the things that when I was a new graduate and just started working, I wanted to save everybody. I was working in a foster care agency, and I wanted to adopt everybody, and made it really hard doing that. So you have to learn to just cut that off. And I think that is it for me.
Thank you. Yes, and that's really
Thank
important
you.
in human services, being able to turn things off, right? That's why human services has such a high burnout rate. You know, people burn out because it's heavy emotional work. So that was great advice. Thank you. Okay, and then last we have Gabriela.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gabriela. And Sasha, let me know if I need to stop because of time, because I can make it as short as I need to. But hi, everyone. Again, my name is Gabriela. I am a gerontologist. I attended both Cal State Long Beach for my undergrad degree and for my master's degree. My bachelor's is in human development. When I was in my undergrad, I initially went in as a psychology major. And as I started the program and worked in a mental health office, I realized that that's not what I wanted to do. So I chose a broader degree so that during my master's program, I can concentrate in gerontology because that's what I really liked. And so my master's degree is in gerontology. I currently am a gerontologist, at SCAN. SCAN is a Medicare health plan that works with older adults. I specifically work in their community service division. So we're a smaller agency called Independence at Home. Here we have several programs that help older adults stay independent in their homes. I specifically work for the COACH program. In the COACH program, we provide very short-term case management services to adults that are over 55 in LA County and Orange County. In addition to serving the older adults, we also provide support for the caregivers of those older adults. So even if we have someone that's as young as over 18, that's 20, but they're a caregiver to their older parent or their family member, as long as the care receiver is over 55, we also provide that support. And again, like I mentioned, our goal is really to help older adults and their families have the resources that they need in order to stay independent in their homes. My major responsibilities is to oversee the team. The team that I oversee is composed of case managers. So it could be anyone that has a sociology degree, a gerontology, psychology, human development, really any area in the human services spectrum. And you don't need to have a master's degree. You can just have your bachelor's. And so these group of case managers, like Cynthia mentioned, do assessments. We used to go into their homes. Now we do telephonic assessments where we just want to find out, in their different areas of life, where do they need help with? So it could be anything like nutrition, access to healthcare, mental health and cognition. Do they have the social support that they need? What is their situation like with their caregivers? We look at mobility. Are they having falls? How can we help prevent falls? And we also look at their legal, if there are any legal issues, we help them look at their finances, and we also scope for abuse. So as a case manager, or you are a mandated reporter, so if you ever suspect any abuse happening, we also want to help with that. Once we're done with the whole plan, we make sure, with the assessments, we make sure that we create a care plan where we can help these older adults or caregivers close some of the gaps that they're currently experiencing in their care. In addition to overseeing the work that the case managers do, I also have I play a big role in program design, deciding how long we're going to provide services for, who we're going to serve, how we're going to render those services. And I do want to note that at Independence at Home, we do have the flexibility to do that because we're not mandated by the state or the city or the county. We are able to create our own plans, really. And along with that comes, quality assurance. And most importantly, I get to coach the case managers that see these clients. I used to be the case manager that would see these clients, and then I would coach the clients. Now I have an opportunity to really help the case managers navigate either difficult situations, or if they have any questions, then they can come to me with those questions. The reason why I chose this field to work with older adults is because I used to work at a bank during my undergrad, and the bank happened to be across the street from a nursing home. And so we would get a lot of clients in that were older folks. And I realized that I had a really good time helping them out, solving problems and help them remember stuff. I realized that it was a population that just needed that additional advocacy to help them navigate through life. I would say that the most rewarding part of my job is being able to help older adults in the larger scope of things. As you all know, there are a lot of people that are aging in our society. And so I think that, we do surveys at the end of each case, like, how did you like our service? Oftentimes what most of the clients answer is that they're just really happy that someone listened to them and that someone helped them and cared about them. So that really makes me feel happy that they do feel like they're being supported and helped. I would say that in terms of special training for any gerontology program, I think you have to know about programs and social services that support older adults. Those things come with time. You can't learn them all at once, and with experience. There is one annual workshop put on by Bethesda where they kind of talk about the changes in social services. Things are always changing. So, there is an opportunity for continued education even when you are out in the field. And here the question is, if I would have done something differently to better prepare me for my role, would you have done something different? I would say no. I kind of worked all over the place. I used to be a receptionist, like I mentioned, at a mental health clinic, and then a receptionist at other clinics. And I think there is sometimes no linear path to get you where you need to, but I would say that one of my best advices I can give you guys is to, understand that sometimes your career path will not be linear, but I agree with what someone said earlier. You have to be strategic and flexible, and maybe say your end job, you don't have it what you want to be yet. The jobs that you do and the internships that you experience during that time will help you and guide you to the job that you want. Because, you know, I was a receptionist at a clinic, and although at the moment I was still going to school, it really helped me understand the healthcare system. And without those skills and knowledge, I wouldn't be able to be a gerontologist now and help my clients navigate through the healthcare system. So, you know, in every job that you have, make the best of it, ask questions. You know, I became a supervisor maybe 3 or 4 years ago, but I was a case manager. And, you know, it's all about asking questions and wanting to improve, you know, processes that you see happening around, even if you're the receptionist. So definitely, follow what you feel you're good at, your passion. I worked at the bank and I wasn't happy. So once I made the transfer to work with actual older adults, it made me really happy. And the last thing I want to highlight is that, yes, I agree, internships will definitely give you great experience. You know, you have an opportunity to work with people that maybe you wouldn't because they're not hiring. So I had one internship at Sunrise Senior Living for their memory care impairment unit, and I learned so much about people with dementia. And you know, I don't necessarily work directly with dementia patients now, but it's helped me understand the services they offer a bit more and how they live.
Again, for the speakers, for volunteering your time, your experiences are super valuable for students, because
thank you so much. So again, a wonderful summit. I'm really impressed with the number of students here and the caliber of speakers. And thank you so much, Sasha and Paulo, for inviting me to this wonderful summit. As Claudia mentioned about Cal State Fullerton, and yes, Cal State Fullerton is in our service area. So what does that mean? That means that all Orange County community colleges, Coastline included, is in the backyard of Cal State Fullerton. They will automatically look at your application in front of the line, okay? Because they want Orange County students, community college students to apply. So I'm showing you this site first, and I will put the URL in the chat, is that most students come to this site when they're ready to apply. But I'm telling students to start looking at this site early, because not only will you go to this site to apply if your career path and if your desire, depending, I heard some individuals talk about potentially clinical work, counseling work, MSW and social work. Those will all require a bachelor's degree, potentially, definitely a master's degree. And those of you who want to get into clinical work, be a clinical psychologist, be a researcher in these areas, will potentially require a doctorate, okay? But most students go to this site for the application. I'm telling you, go ahead of the class here and start looking at this, to study this, to research this. You're going to be looking at Cal State Fullerton, hopefully, as a pathway to your bachelor's degree. But also, they have all 23 schools listed here. In fact, I met with a student today who's applying for fall 2022 admissions. She's going to go to Chico State. Oh my gosh, is she planning to move there? No, she found a sociology program online at Chico State. So it's really important to look at this at your convenience, okay? You got insomnia at 2 o'clock in the morning, what a great site to look at as you're studying this, and who knows, this will captivate you. Also, looking at other aspects here too, they do focus in on transfer students. So again, explore this site. Choosing a campus. Did you know there's 23 CSUs? We know who's been right in our backyard is Fullerton. Also, we have students going to Cal State Long Beach. We have students going to Dominguez Hills. I've got students going out to CSU San Bernardino, San Marcos. In fact, I had a student today apply to San Diego, as well as Fresno State. Oh my gosh. So you have all these opportunities to go. And I know most of you are talking here about in Orange County, but as you explore with Paulo in the Career Center, and also as you meet with Claudia, talk with your professors, your sociology professors here, Professor Montero and others, you'll find out a wider net here to give yourself more opportunities up and down the state of California. Okay. Now, the other site that I want everyone to look at too is, again, okay, so the counselor Claudia Mojica mentioned about, getting a sociology degree and getting into human services. Okay, you can. Here's an example here too. Let's see, what did I hear? As you could see, there's lots of opportunities here within your field. Human development, human experience, human nutrition. Oh, what's that about? And you can choose all campuses. Also, they have a degree online. By the way, the CSUs haven't really warmed up too much to online yet, but they're working on it, okay? So some of you who are mentioning about, hey, I'm interested in the nutrition area, maybe dietitian, et cetera. These are the schools right now that are offering a specific concentration of majors. It'll also tell you if it's on campus as well as if it's online, okay? So this is, again, I'll have all these in the chat box too. At Coastline, we have the sociology and psychology associate's degree for transfer. Again, it's a guarantee. It'll be, the guarantee is that you'll be admitted into a CSU. Hopefully it's going to be your first or second choice. But again, this is where you can really get into your concentration or area. Some of you mentioned about working with children. You'll choose a Coastline here to see, what areas here. Okay, campuses, we'll select all. And again, this is going to be a great time for all of you who are coming close. I mean, how many of you have, 45 units or more? How many of you are looking to complete your 60 units by May 2022? If you are completing your degree, your associate's degree by May 2022, talk with your counselors. You might be at the right time here to apply for fall 2022. Please contact me in the transfer center to help you with your application. For some of you who want a little bit of a break with the CSU system, you can apply in the fall, which is the most number of applicants is in the fall, but they also have admissions in the springtime. So if you miss this deadline coming up of November 30th or December 15th, then you'll apply in August for spring 2022. Now, I know I gave you a lot of information. Start thinking about this now. One of the students here mentioned that it's next year, but you can also start thinking about preparing to transfer now. So I'll put the links in the chat, and please follow.
So some things I want to share over at the Career Center. So we have 10 minutes left. I know, Vanessa, it's almost 9 p.m. on your side in Virginia. So I'll try to keep everyone up here. So one thing I always share with students, if you already heard this, just close your ears. Career success formula. This is super, super important. No matter what career you're pursuing, this is super important. The first part is your education. So that's your certificate, your degree, your whatever it is. That's the reason why you're in school in the first place. That's important. Second is self-awareness. So this is who you are as a person, your strengths, people you want to work with, population you want to serve, environment. That's also super important. Oh, you want to help people. You want to help them out in the college setting, in a private setting, in the K through 12. That's also something to think about. Third is marketing. That's your resumes, your cover letters, your interviewing. All those could be improved. Fourth is relevant experience. And we kind of touched on this throughout this summit. So a lot of our speakers talked about the importance of of internships and volunteering and just gaining relevant experience. Like really, the trick is you want to get your school and a couple relevant experience under your belt, and that's really the key. Nowadays, with just a degree, it's very difficult to find a job. It's very competitive. And one way to really make yourself marketable is those relevant experience. Another factor is the networking, so people that you know. So let's say you do want to do gerontologist. So we have Gabriela earlier. She'd be a perfect person. She didn't mention this, but she actually had 10 years experience of gerontology. And that could open up a lot of doors. You know, what if there's like an assistant position in her company, and because you already know her, she could even refer you for her, wherever she works at. So all that's super important. And the last part, of course, is luck. No one knew that COVID is gonna blow up to how it is right now. But what I always tell students is the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We could have the top 5 you have control of, and over at the Career Center, we could always help you out, supplement that, and they're all related to each other. So let's say you got this relevant experience. You want to work with, as someone mentioned earlier, they want to work with children with trauma. Let's say you work with a nonprofit that specializes with that population, and maybe you do an internship there for 4 to 6 months, and they really like you. It might turn into a part-time position, but guess what? You're actually gaining experience in your field as you're doing your school. So let's say you fast forward, you have your bachelor's degree, you have your master's degree, and you're still working for that nonprofit. Now you have like maybe 3, 4, 5 years under your belt. So now you're So think about it, right? So you graduate with your degree, but you have like all these years experience. The fact that you have that over someone that didn't invest their time on getting relevant experience, you have a much higher upper edge. So definitely this formula does not go away. It doesn't matter if you're your master's level or your PhD, it doesn't go away. And Gabriela also mentioned that life it's not linear all the time. Things happen. People think success looks like this, where you go to school, you buy a house, and you buy a Tesla, and life's all good. But success really looks like this. Sometimes things in life happen, it might go down, and sometimes opportunities come up, it might go up. But the more you're getting help from people like us, so we have Claudia here, we have Sasha here, we have Helen here. The more you're getting help, and the more you develop mentors, really, the more you're going to go in a positive direction. Okay. So some resources I want to share with you all. Since a lot of you are in the helping profession, this is a very, very good, even though it's not psychology, there's a lot of overlap with social sciences. This is a very good website for you to kind of explore different career pathways out there. So on this website, they break down by different categories. So we have counselor, we have therapist, we have psychologist, we have social worker. So someone on the chat, or say it out loud, which one of these you want me to click on? So we have counselor, therapist, psychologist, social worker. Put it on the chat.
Social worker.
Psychologist.
Okay, I hired 2 social workers, so I'm going to click on that. So if I scroll down, look how many different types of social worker there is, right? So sometimes when you're pursuing a path, you're like, oh, I'm going to be a social worker, and then I'm going to get this master's of social worker, without realizing that there's so much concentrations out there, and it's good to know that ahead of time so you could backwards plan, right? And the strengths of doing that is, if you backwards plan and you know which population and what kind of work you want to do, you can start being involved in doing work or internships or some kind of experience that is in that area. So when you're applying for these master's program, guess what? Your personal statement is very focused on that concentration. You're not just a general applicant. You're actually very focused, and you have the experience to back it up. So you want to make sure you plan this ahead of time. And again, like I really recommend you sit down with myself or one of our counselors and talk about this, and they're more than happy to help you out with this. So if I scroll down, there's clinical social worker, there's correction social worker, and I don't know in all of these, right? There's so much out there. So there's geriatric social worker, there's hospice, there's medical social worker, and if you click it, it'll give you more information, like what is a medical social worker? Why do we need it? What do they do? And I believe it also tells you salary. Yeah, so it tells you salary, tells you information here. So it's a very, very useful tool to have. So I'll put this on the chat here for you to have. And I'm more than happy to sit down with you as well, because everyone's different. Everyone has a specific plan, and we could customize it towards that. Ooh, what happened to my screen? Okay, well, that's it on my end. And yeah, so I'll put the Career Center page here again. If you do want to set an appointment, there is a button here that says schedule an appointment. So if you click that and fill it out, we could meet as soon as next week. But I'll hand it over to Sasha.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank everybody for attending, on both sides, students for attending, and also our panelists, Helen, everybody for making this happen. Like I said, this was our first year doing this, and I hope that people found the information helpful. For everybody, we're going to ask that you please complete the event feedback survey. I do want to mention, when you click on it, it says that it's for the business department. We just forgot to relabel that, but it is actually the correct survey. It is for today's session. If you are a student in my class and you are here, as in part to collect your extra credit points, or there was another instructor who offered extra credit points, this is the way that we will know that you were here, is by completing the event feedback survey. So you can find it in the flyer, but we can also post it here, right, Paolo?
Yeah, I put it on the chat, and I renamed it as well. So it should say Human Services.
Perfect. Awesome. I'm going to stick around for a little bit in case, people wanted to stick around and ask other questions. If not, then like I said, thank you for joining and have a good evening.
It looks like we have another question in the chat. Someone is asking about hospice work. So if you go through Volunteer Match, you will find quite a bit for hospice. One of the areas, it can be a really tough area for some people to go into, like with end of life care. But what I can tell you is that if you are interested in learning more about that area, like a volunteer opportunity would be really good. A lot of times, well, not a lot of times, there are a lot of agencies out there that help provide folks that are approaching that end of life stage with people that can be there with them. If they don't have family that can be there to support them, or the family isn't always available, then volunteers can get paired with someone to be there for them as they transition, into the end of life. And this is also a good way to learn about the different types of folks that are involved with hospice care. The other thing that you can do is that you can also look up local hospice agencies. There's a few different ones, and you can reach out to them directly to see if they have opportunities. And if you want some help doing that, you can reach out to me. I dropped my email in the chat, and I'm happy to send some of those resources out to you.
And there's actually quite a few job postings on hospice, so I would reach out to me as well if you want to get paid doing that kind of work. So it is 6:01 p.m. So I'm gonna hand it over to Sasha for the panel session.
And I just wanted to say, Vanessa, I see your question here in the chat. You're asking what is a good area to work in, right? That can accommodate all these things. And so with that, I think I'm going to hand it over to the panelists, and maybe you can gain some insight there.
Is there a specific list of companies that we can have an internship through, or could we do that, say, at like somewhere that we work at currently? How does that actually work?
So have you taken the practicum class, Christian?
No, but I know that it's coming up at some point, and so that's kind of why I'm asking, because I know it's coming up.
Yeah. So my understanding is that students have to find their own organizations in that class to volunteer their time with. But I do believe that the professor also has like an ongoing list from past organizations, that have been open, to the idea of, students spending time there. I'm not sure if we have any websites. Paolo, do you know of any websites that list whether they have internship or volunteer opportunities?
Yeah. The first one is our Career Center.
So I work for Mercy House. And I know that they do internships. I just don't know if I saw them on your list. Is that one of them that would be acceptable?
Would that count, Sasha?
Are you saying for the class, for 273, for the practicum?
Yeah.
So I actually don't teach that class. Professor Wooten does. So you would have to run that by her.
Oh, okay.
But it seems like it would be, it's a nonprofit organization. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, there's some spots in social work that they had I was kind of interested in, and if I could use an internship to stay with the same company and learn more about it,
Sure.
it actually work well.
Yes, that would be ideal.
Thank you.
Yes. So another resource I want to share as well, in addition to our Career Center. So if you go to our Career Center website and click on internship and volunteer and click here, there's actually a lot of opportunity here for you to search different internship opportunities. Another one too is over in Cal State Fullerton. They actually have like agency directory on their end. So that's this is a pretty good list to have. This is it's a really good list. I'll put this on the chat for you all. This would be a good one. And earlier I mentioned OC nonprofit. Oops. I'm gonna put this again. This is a very, very good good resource for you all to have as well. Does that answer your question, Christian?
Yeah, actually, when you pulled up that Fullerton one, that's one of them that I had looked at, and I was really looking for my my place of employment in there. I didn't see it, so I was like, "Uh-oh, I hope this will work," which is what led me to ask tonight.
Yeah, a lot of the nonprofit websites, if you go to any of their website, usually on top, it's going to say opportunities. When you click that, there's usually like a tab for volunteer or internships. And if you look around there, usually there's going to be some opportunities. And knowing nonprofits, they need a lot of people. So really take advantage of these nonprofits, because there's a lot of opportunity. And it's just that learning how to search does take some time. Over at the Career Center, I could definitely help you out find those specific ones for population you want to work with.
So all of these certificates, will they help me, because I'm applying for the RN program at Golden West and finishing my requirements this semester. Wondering if all of these different certificates, because I got the health and I forgot what it's called, health science certificate. If I were to get more classes and possibly apply for this certificate, would that increase my chances of getting in?
Yes, I would think so. From the feedback that we've gotten from students is that these certificates sort of give them like a leg up, like in interviews for jobs, or, when they're applying to something like the nursing program, right? Because it shows that you have, a little bit of specialty training, right, in a specific area, which may be more than some other candidate does.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Can I add to that too, Sasha?
Yes, of course.
So we've actually had the folks over that do admissions at Golden West come over to talk to counselors about how to help students. And they've shared that they use a point system, it's not a secret. They use a point system in their admissions. And part of that point system actually awards points for having additional degrees. So yeah, it can definitely help make you a more competitive applicant if you have other degrees to show for.
Oh, thank you. I thought it was only for associates and bachelors, because I have that multi-criteria sheet, but it just tells you points on like if you have your associates or your bachelors.
So yeah, I think they work. Does the sheet tell you how many points? I thought they said it was like 2 points, and you get points awarded based on the type of or degrees that you have.
Oh.
So that office is really good about taking questions from students. So if you want to know specifically like how many points you're looking at for adding to what you're already bringing in, you may want to give them a call too, just to double check with them. But really, like having the additional courses, especially things that are going to help you have more specialized training, they can always help you when you're applying to those highly competitive programs.
Oh, okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Claudia. Okay, so we are going to move over to Helen. Helen is from our transfer center.